Have you ever wondered about those people who seem to walk through life alone? The ones who always eat by themselves, never join group chats, and whose weekends seem to be a party of one. It's easy to jump to conclusions, right? Maybe they're awkward, maybe they're mean, or maybe there's just something off about them. But the truth about why some people have no friends is far more complex and fascinating than these simple labels suggest. Today, we're diving deep into the psychology of solitude, exploring the real reason someone might not have a social circle, and debunking some common myths along the way. Stick around, because what you learn might just change the way you see the lone wolves in your life, and maybe even yourself. First, let's get one major misconception out of the way. Having no friends doesn't automatically mean someone is lonely or unhappy. There's a huge difference between being alone and being lonely. Loneliness is a painful emotional state of feeling disconnected. Being alone, on the other hand, can be a conscious choice, a state of solitude that many people find peaceful and restorative. For some, solitude isn't a bug, it's a feature. These are the classic introverts. They aren't antisocial, they're just differently social. Their social battery drains much faster in group settings and recharges when they're by themselves. For an introvert, a wild Friday night might genuinely be a good book, a cup of tea, and absolute quiet. They may have a few very close, deep connections rather than a wide circle of acquaintances, and sometimes, life transitions can cause temporary gaps even in those few relationships. So, a person with no friends at a particular moment might just be in their recharging phase, perfectly content. Then there are what psychologists call schizoid personality traits. Now, let's be very clear, this is not the same as schizophrenia. A person with schizoid traits has a profound lack of interest in social relationships. They're not avoiding people out of fear or anxiety, they simply don't have the internal drive for connection that most of us take for granted. They're often described as emotionally cold or detached, but it's more accurate to say their emotional experience is just muted. They're the ultimate lone wolves, perfectly happy in their own world. They can be highly functional, intelligent, and successful in their careers, especially in jobs that require minimal social interaction. For them, friendship isn't a necessity for a fulfilling life. It's a preference they simply don't have. On the other side of the spectrum, we have social anxiety. Unlike introverts who choose solitude, people with social anxiety desperately crave connection but are terrified of it. Their minds are constant whirlwind of what-ifs. What if I say something stupid? What if they think I'm boring? What if they're all secretly laughing at me? This fear can be so paralyzing that it makes forming and maintaining friendships feel like an impossible task. They might turn down invitations, avoid eye contact, and stay silent in conversations, not because they're rude or uninterested, but because they're trapped in a cycle of fear and self-doubt. Their lack of friends isn't a reflection of their character, but a symptom of a very real and painful mental health challenge. They are often incredibly warm, funny, and kind people, hidden behind a wall of anxiety. Past experiences also play a massive role in shaping our ability to form friendships. Think about it. If you've been burned by friends in the past, maybe through betrayal, bullying, or constant letdowns, it's natural to become more guarded. A history of trauma, especially during formative years, can create deep-seated trust issues. The subconscious thought process becomes, if I don't let anyone in, I can't get hurt. This self-protective mechanism, while understandable, can make it incredibly difficult to be vulnerable enough to build new, healthy relationships. It's like having a fortress around your heart. People might try to get in, but the walls are just too high. This isn't about being picky, it's about self-preservation, a defense mechanism learned from painful life lessons. Sometimes, the reason is more about circumstance than psychology. High-demand careers, for example, can leave little time or energy for socializing. Think of doctors, entrepreneurs, or anyone working 80-hour weeks. By the time they get home, they're exhausted. Their main priority is sleep, not happy hour. Similarly, being a primary caregiver for a sick family member or a young child is a full-time job that often isolates people from their social networks. Geographic location can also be a huge factor. Moving to a new city or country where you don't know anyone might not even speak the language is incredibly isolating. Building a social circle from scratch as an adult is hard, much harder than when we were kids in a playground. We also can't ignore the impact of neurodiversity. People on the autism spectrum, for instance, often process social cues differently. They might not instinctively understand body language, sarcasm, or the unwritten rules of small talk. This can lead to misunderstandings and make social interactions feel confusing and draining. It's not a lack of desire for connection, but a difference in the social operating system. They might connect with others over shared special interests in a very deep and meaningful way, but struggle with the casual, surface-level interactions that often precede deep friendships. Their approach to friendship is just wired differently, and unfortunately, a society that doesn't understand this can leave them feeling ostracized. Another powerful factor is low self-esteem. If you don't believe you're worthy of friendship, you'll subconsciously sabotage any potential connections. You might interpret a neutral comment as criticism, assume people are just being polite, or believe you have nothing valuable to contribute to a conversation. This internal narrative of "I'm not good enough" becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You push people away because you don't feel you deserve to have them close. It's a tragic cycle where the deep-seated belief that you're unlovable prevents you from experiencing the very thing that could prove it wrong: genuine, unconditional friendship. And finally, let's talk about being selectively social. Some people are incredibly discerning about who they spend their time with. They value quality over quantity to an extreme degree. They have very high standards for friendship, looking for deep intellectual, emotional, and spiritual connections. They'd rather have no friends than have superficial or draining friendships. This isn't arrogance, it's a form of emotional and energetic boundary setting. They're not willing to settle for less than what they feel is a truly authentic connection. For them, a friendship isn't just a pastime, it's a sacred bond, and they're willing to wait for the right people, even if it means spending a lot of time alone. So, as you can see, the person eating lunch alone isn't a simple caricature. They could be an introvert recharging their batteries. They could be a brilliant mind who simply doesn't prioritize socializing. They could be a newcomer to your city, feeling lost and alone. They could be silently battling intense social anxiety or healing from past betrayals. Or they could be perfectly content, enjoying their own company more than anyone else's. The reasons are as diverse and complex as people themselves. This understanding is more than just a psychological curiosity, it's a call for empathy. Instead of judging, maybe we can try to understand. A simple, low-pressure hello or a genuine smile can be a lifeline for someone struggling with anxiety or loneliness. For someone who's simply an introvert, they'll appreciate the kind gesture even if they don't engage in a long conversation. And if they're perfectly happy alone, no harm done. If you recognize yourself in any of these descriptions and feel that your lack of friends is causing you pain, please know that things can change. If anxiety is the barrier, seeking support from a therapist can be life-altering. There are techniques like cognitive behavioral therapy that are incredibly effective for social anxiety. If you're lonely due to circumstance, try finding groups centered around your hobbies. A book club, a hiking group, a coding boot camp. These are fantastic ways to meet like-minded people in a structured, low-pressure environment. Building connection takes time and courage, but it is always possible. Remember, your worth is not defined by the number of friends you have. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the psychology of solitude. I hope it's given you a new perspective. If you found this video insightful, Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content that explores the complexities of the human mind. And I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. See you in the next video.